Okay. Well, it's really good being here with you all, okay? There's a lot on my mind, and so if it sounds like I'm spitting out a lot of stuff, it's because there's a lot on my mind, so I'll try to keep it focused and try to make sure I don't just give out a bunch of facts. I believe that in our culture, we were raised to play it safe the whole way. That's why I think many of us probably experience strong education, get good grades, become a doctor or lawyer because our parents wanted us to be financially stable. That's my culture, that's me. I'm a Korean, and I was the son who got good grades. I was a 4.0 in high school. I went to the greatest school in Southern California, USC, all right? But I did something that my parents didn't like. I started out as pre-med, that's what my parents wanted me to be, but I changed majors, and I changed majors probably to the worst major you could be to a Korean traditional family. I became a music major. Right? And it gets worse, okay? It's not like I was playing violin, all right, or piano, all right? I did music recording. I studied sound engineering. And my parents are even more like, what's that, all right? They have no idea what that is. So I followed what my passion was. I studied sound engineering. And very different. I always tell people all the time what I did. I always explain to them 5 times. Like, don't just push the record button and that's it. No, fool, there's more to that. Right? There's so much more. So I didn't play it safe. And so before I went into pastoral ministry, I was in the recording industry. I was in a recording studio. I was a manager at Guitar Center. And so I experienced that. Even in my seminary days, I was bivocational for a long time. I studied in seminary at Talbot, and then I was recording in a studio for like almost 8 years. Even almost up to a year ago, I was still doing that. I finally let that go because I got into full-time pastoral ministry. After 10 years, I was finally into full-time ministry. Because we all know, Asian churches don't hire full-time pastors, right? They make you do full-time work, but they don't hire you full-time. And it was even worse for me because for 8 years, I was an elementary pastor. And so no one wants to pay full-time for elementary. Why pay you full-time, right? Gosh, I hate you guys, all right? So, I played it safe my whole life. Now, I did something about 4 years ago that, again, wasn't safe. And I tried to plant a church. In 2012, I left my last church, and I said I wanted to plant a church. It all started with me calling the Orange County Southern Baptist Convention, and I just had a question about ordination. That's all I did. And they connected me to this guy named Don Overstreet, who teaches church planting at Golden Gate Baptist Seminary, and he's planted 50 churches. And in my first meeting, he said, "You're going to plant a church." I'm like, wait, I just have questions about ordination. And then Don Overstreet is like a 70-year-old white guy, so he said, "You're going to meet with me again next month." And the next month, I'm coming to the meeting, and I guess he wasn't Asian enough, so he brought Kevin into the meeting. It's my first time I met Kevin. And then Kevin and him were talking, and Kevin's like, "You don't know yet, but you're going to plant a church." I'm like, okay. My wife was like, "Are you going to plant a church?" I was like, no, trust me, I'm never going to do it. I never want to plant a church. But 6 months of meeting with them, praying about it, both my wife and I came to that decision. I said, we're not going to plant this church unless you're on board. For 2 years, we tried to do that. I tried to plant a multi-ethnic church. And the reason why I did that was because for almost 10 to 12 years, I was heavily involved with this campus ministry at KCM. I don't know if you guys know that. And I heavily involved. At one point, I ran their volleyball tournament, softball tournament, their retreat for 300 students. I was at a campus ministry every week preaching. I was on their steering corps, which was kind of the decision-making body of the entire ministry. I helped out with missions training. I made up skits. I went to all of their missions training. At one point, I was doing all of that. And it was during this time in KCM, a little bit before I church planted, where I really felt frustrated. And the reason why I felt frustrated was because I felt like everyone around me was playing it safe. And I'm pretty adventurous. I wanted to push things to the edge and kind of do different things. And I felt so limited. I felt like when we thought of an idea, it always just came down to, let's just do Bible study, preach for 45 minutes, all right, and then it's going to happen. Now, dude, I'm a Bible nerd. I'm an academic too. I teach as an adjunct at Talbot, so I love the Bible. I'm a purist. I believe in the inerrancy of the Bible. I love Greek. I do Greek flashcards before I go to bed, okay? So I love the Bible, okay? But when it came to ministry, all right, I just felt like, okay, let's keep all that, but there's gotta be some other things we do. And every time I met with everyone in KCM and in church, I felt like no one was really thinking outside the box. It was always the same cookie cutter year. And maybe some of your churches look like this. You got a summer retreat, you got a winter retreat, you do Mexico missions in the summer, right? Or maybe you do Arizona, right? You go to the Native Americans down there, all right? I know some churches that go to your hood in Canada, all right? You do a couple praise nights, all right? Do 30-hour famine in October. We got to do that one, all right? And then you read a bunch of John Piper books and discipleship and all that stuff. And I felt like, look, that's all good, but there's got to be other things that we got to be doing. And I felt like when I was trying to use other people as a soundboard, people weren't meshing with me. I'm like, I don't get it. What do you mean do something different? So it's out of that frustration that I felt like I had to break free. I wanted to push things to the edge, think outside the box. So I tried to plant a church. It was 2 years, hardest thing I ever did. It was tough. Daniel knows, I met him in 2013 at a Dallas NAM Send conference, and I was sharing with him my heart at that time, the low point in my church plant. I always tell church planters when they come up to me, oh, I want to plant a church. I tell them, be ready. If you want to plant a church, be ready to preach to a service of one person. My Christmas service in 2013, one person showed up. Wow. I preached that one fool right there in front of him. I told him, hey, I know you're the only one here, but I prepared a message on Matthew chapter 1. I'm preaching to you, fool, okay? So you better listen. My wife was doing PowerPoint, and it was that one fool right there. I preached to him, all right? After that day, I felt crushed, though, that a service of one. Isn't that insane? That was such a hard time for me. Oh, man. But it was through my experience of planting a church, and I never launched, so I tried to plant a church. It's through that experience that I really felt, I really got that understanding of thinking outside the box. While planting a church for 5 months, I again did not play it safe, and I did something crazy. I went to this plaza in Anaheim Hills, because that's where I was originally wanted to plant. And I went to every single store manager in this really popular plaza. It's on Imperial and Santa Ana Canyon Road. There's a Starbucks there, there's the LA Fit there. I went to every store manager once a week. I said, hey, I'm trying to plant a church here. I'm a pastor. I'm trying to get to know this city. I just want to get to know you. And I always ended it with, is there anything I can pray for you about? Everyone said, no, there's nothing to pray about, nothing to pray about. No. And I did that to every single store manager. I was there for so long that I actually saw turnover of stores and managers. I was like, hey, where's Bill? I was like, oh, he's not here. Right? I actually saw turnover. And I tell you, the first time I did that, I was scared to death. Going to complete strangers and having this conversation. It was one of the most difficult things I ever did. I remember praying in my car, Lord, just be with me right now. I'm just so scared. I freaked out of my mind. But I did that for 5 months. And it's these experiences that make me more adventurous and try to think outside the box. And so we live, I feel like, in a safe culture, a very, very safe culture. And so what I wanted to share with you guys are just 3 things from my experience and what I feel like a lot of Asian churches, I'm not saying you need to understand this, but maybe try to apply these things. Most of my friends are all pastors. And if you're Korean, I'm Korean. I know the big box churches. I know the big box Korean churches. They're all my friends. Those staff guys are all my buddies. I always ask them the same, hey, what are you guys doing? I want to know. What are you guys doing this year? And I'm telling you, I always hear the same stuff. Oh, we're doing discipleship. Oh, we're doing Kevin DeYoung, crazy busy. We're going to go to Gospel Coalition, all these things. I always hear the same exact things. And I think to myself, is that really working? I don't know, is that working? Because the struggle that I have is we have a high value discipleship, because we value education, so we're all about reading and studying, things like that. But I'm wondering, is this pouring out into our city, or is it just for the sake of personal sanctification and growth? And one of the things I think about of why I think there's a struggle there is because I have a college group at Saddleback. I love college students. I really believe in the generation. But I know so many college students in this KCM campus ministry and other churches where they're on fire for God, okay? They have all these books, and they watch Matt Chandler sermons, and they read blogs, and they think they know Reformed theology, and they want to talk about eschatology and all these big words, right? And when they graduate, though, I don't see that continuing at all. Like, what's happening here? You used to be so on fire. I thought Piper was your homeboy. What's going on? And what I'm thinking about is discipleship is very key. It's very important. But that can't be the only thing, because what I'm seeing is these guys were high in discipleship, and after college, something's off. Something's missing, because they're dropping out of the church. We know young adult life post-college, especially in Asian churches, is not strong. How many young adult groups do you guys know about that are thriving in the Korean church, Asian church, Chinese church, Japanese church? I never hear about young adult ministries ever. I only hear about high school and college. I never see articles and blogs on Facebook saying, young adult party. I never see that, ever, ever. And I know these big box churches. They're all my buddies. So what's going on there? And so all of this to say, there's three things I wanted to share. That's something that I hope we could all do. Okay, take risks. I want us to take risks. Take wise risks, okay? When I say take a risk, don't blow your whole budget on like, let's go buy a church car and just drive around and evangelize. Okay, don't do that. Take wise risks, but take a risk. All right? I feel like we are so safe in our ministries. We don't ever want to think outside the box and take a risk. Let your students in high school and in college experience tough situations. We like to coddle them. Let them go out there on their own, and don't tell them anything. Just go out. You go out. What do I do? Figure it out. You're smart. If you go to college, guess what? You're amongst the 40% smartest people in America, because only about 36% of Americans know how to read. Okay, so you're smart. Okay, figure it out. You have all this discipleship in your brain. You know what to do. Take a risk. And so much application in that. But here's one risk that we could all start applying right now. Let people go. Let people go. When I was church planting, I was obviously trying to recruit, and recruiting non-believers and believers, right? I remember one person that was really interested in coming to my church, believed in the vision. I was talking to him for a long time. I said, you gotta talk to your pastor. Okay, I'm not going to try to sheep steal here. Talk to your pastor. He came back to me and said, I talked to my pastor and I can't go. And I expected that. And I said, okay, what did he say? He said, I can't. He said, you can't go because I baptized you. What the heck? What does that mean? That is a crazy theology, man. Baptism means he owns you? That's awesome. I'm going to start applying that right now. What book of the Bible teaches that? Thessalonians, dude, chapter 1. I love it. It's just the craziest thing I heard. I couldn't believe it. And that pastor got so upset with me that he talked to another pastor, a big dog pastor, to come talk to me. And talk to me, oh, are you sheep stealing? I'm like, no, dude. I told him to go talk to his pastor. And he thinks baptism is like ownership. I'm not sure. Learn how to let go. Learn how to let go. Now, wisely. Don't let go because they're mad at you and they just want to go off to the next big thing. Learn how to let go. Number 2, copy, borrow, tweak. If your circles are all just Asian American pastors, you guys are all doing the same thing mostly. So look at what other churches are doing. Look at what Saddleback is doing, or Mariners is doing, or other churches that are not like you. And obviously you can't copy exactly what it is because the culture is a little bit different. So tweak it and make it fit. Because other churches are doing different things than what you're doing. So if we're all a computer store and there's Apple, why not try to be like Apple? Oh, because I have my own identity. Be quiet, it's Apple, okay? Copy what they do, make it better, tweak it, but be like Apple. Why wouldn't you want to be like Apple? Borrow, tweak, copy what other people are doing because you can learn. Just like here, we can learn from all of us, okay? 3, and this is the big one that I think a lot of us will have struggled doing. Fail forward. Fail forward. People will say my church plan was a failure. To the world, logically, it might be. It might be considered a failure. I considered it, I failed forward. in the bigger picture, I probably didn't fail because of everything I learned. And my church plant experience made me very, very adventurous. Like, I'll go out and do anything now. I'll go talk to any stranger. I'll go out and do wild things because of my church planting experience. So in a sense, maybe it wasn't a failure. But fail forward. We like to play it so safe that we don't want to, oh, I messed up. I got an A-, oh my gosh, right? Fail forward. You might mess up, it didn't work, but think about how much you're going to learn from that experience. Don't live in a life of what-ifs. If you're a leader, a church leader, or a pastor, don't say what if, well, just do it. Try it. See what happens. I'll close with this. I'll apply this right now, okay? Easter is coming up. Easter is coming up. I bet most of your churches, your Easter experience is going to be, the children's ministry is going to do some kind of play about Jesus coming back to life. Parents are going to watch it. Yeah, right. And then you're all going to eat rice soup afterwards, okay? Take a risk, okay? And maybe change up your service so it's not like that. So that it's not just catering just to your congregation. Perhaps, maybe some people are going to come to Easter service because that's the one service they go to every year. Take a risk and maybe put some money into advertising your service to your own city, to a bunch of people. Take a risk and change up the way you usually do Easter service so that you can maybe try to reach out to the newcomers, the new visitors, the non-believers in your church. Easter, Christmas, probably the only 2 times in the year that some people go to church, right? Take a risk this Easter. Copy, borrow, tweak. Saddleback, and we're not the example, we're just one example, but we do a lot of things in these big times in the year. So we have lots of expressions for first-time visitors. We have these snacks, and we have these food. We have all these areas where we know first-time visitors. We give away gifts to first-time visitors. It's purpose-driven life, but it's okay, we give away gifts, all right? But we're very focused on the first-time visitor. We even have ways to invite people. For Christmas, we had this thing called a hope box. The whole church invested into boxes. It's up to the member. You just fill it with whatever you want, cookies, whatever, and then just say, hey, come out to our service. It's up to the member to fill that box. These are ideas. Tweak it, copy it, borrow it. But this is coming up right now. You guys have time. Lastly, fail forward. Do something different, guys, this Easter. Do something. Try something out so that you can see what might happen. And then, even if you think it's failed, man, think about what you got to talk about and how you can make it better the next time. All right? So, these are 3 things I just wanted to share. That's a little bit of my story. Thanks, guys, for your time.
Good, John. So energetic, so passionate. One person, really?
One person.
I thought you were going to say it was your wife.
No. It was really
Yeah.
good. She was doing PowerPoint. Yeah.
Those 2 people.
Yeah, but
It's powerful if you should say one.
yeah.
Cool. I love what you said because I resonate with that so much, like especially the risk one. But before I share my thing, I just want to open it up here briefly. Like, what resonated with you that really just like, I don't do that, or I do that. Let me share how it's changed me, or I don't do that and I need to do that. Give John some feedback on what helped you, what you thought. Yeah, any thoughts? And say your name, church, again. I know, just because I want you guys to connect.
Nick, Arcadia Transbaptist. I really appreciated your emphasis on challenging us to risk. I agree with you. I think that part of the challenge for us as Asian Americans in risking is that there's not a lot of cultural tolerance or even a paradigm for failure. And oftentimes, if you risk and you fail, that's the last chance they're going to give you. If you convince your senior leadership to give you a little leeway to risk something, and then you fail, not only will you not get to risk again, probably you're going to have some people come down and tell you how to do your job from then on. You know, or you may not have the capital after that to do your job. Like, just because we have an honor and shame culture. And, you know, here's this guy who's shamed the community by going out there and failing in this flamboyant way. You know, so what, you know, like, I really resonate with that. I think we do need that in the Asian church to be willing to take risks. But do you have any suggestions?
See, so that's one of the reasons why I had to break out of that culture. I couldn't have a first generation hold me by the horns all the time. But in your situation, yeah, it's gonna take time. I would really try to communicate to the first gen, the senior pastor, where your heart is. Just explain it in a way where it's not shameful, like this is a growing spirit. It's good for the church. I would throw the Gospels in there. Okay, Jesus, he was a gangster. Okay, he did crazy stuff. He went against,
Blood or Chris?
He used both. Twice Jesus. But Jesus was a gangster. He did crazy things. People all felt like, what are you doing? And I bring Scripture into it. We don't operate like Jesus today anymore. I don't know why. He went into the places that no one wanted to go to. Everyone was like, what are you doing? What are you doing? Talk about cultural shame. Oh my gosh. John chapter 4. He broke social, ethnic, cultural norms by talking to that woman. And so I totally agree. It's going to take time. I would start with that. Communicate that. Try to be on the same page with that with your senior pastor.
What I would also say is take personal risks first. Like write down a list of 25 things that you're afraid of to do for yourself personally. Whether it's in personal life, ministry life, whatever it is. And then start doing that. Just because the impact is just you, right? For instance, like Kevin over here, he did a hotel Prius. He went all the way to Texas and he slept in his Prius. And during that time, I challenged him, hey, write down your 25 fears and do it. So one of his fears was, and he wrote that he's going to go to Whataburger and not without a shirt. And he walked into Whataburger and he walked in the shirt. And he got rejected, obviously. He got kicked out. But he did little things like that. Just a personal risk that went out of his comfort zone to show that, hey, he can do it. For me, one of my personal risks that I'm doing in the next 100 days, I am inviting 1,000 people to church in 100 days. So I'm at around 280 right now. And so I'm being very creative and being very like, this is crazy for me because I don't do that. Like the evangelism, that risk, personally, it's been crazy and it's been the most life-giving thing for me. So do something personal to get outside your own comfort zone. And then as you feel more confident and stronger in yourself, you're going to be able to go to your senior pastor and be like, hey, this is not actually a risk at all because I know how I am as a leader. I've done this. I can do it. So you believe in yourself.
Just make sure you bow first.